and kind of like what role we're here to play in the world and what parts of ourselves we are to embrace. So, like for instance, 5-1s, they're going to be asking a lot of questions. They might have a lot of judgments. That's not necessarily something for you to fight yourself about, as opposed to accept yourself. Like I was saying, human design is really so much about acceptance and not necessarily um, you know, resonating so much as experimenting. And that's the beautiful thing about, human design. It really is, like if you're a 2-4, you're a hermit opportunist, right? So you really care about your network, but then you also really want to be like left alone in a way to like do the thing that you want to do. And so important to, again, just experiment with that. Experiment what it's like um not, how you say, put pressure on yourself to go be social, but to wait to be invited out. Unless you're a manifester, then do all that. Nailed it. That's me. Yeah. And so this is fun too, because for the people that do really resonate with their body graphs or with what they're seeing with human design, what it means is like you're not far off from who you are. After looking at mine, I must say I cried a little. Oh yeah, that is because there's a part of us that can recognize ourselves. It is called resonance. And so even though it's not necessarily about resonance, um it's when you observe it and you experience resonance through observation. Again, this is no longer I'm picking these answers on the Hogwarts which house are you in quiz because I really want to be in Gryffindor because this says this and this about me. It's who am I actually really, because this is all about revealing who you actually are for real, and not by some way of like, oh, these are valuable in society and these are not valuable in society. It's like, hey, us as human beings, we're here to be individuals. And so how do we do that? Well, we experiment and we practice with being ourselves. Again, strategy and authority. So there's two main things that you really need to understand with human design. Again, number one is strategy. This is how you make decisions. And number two is authority, which is how you decide what's good for you, contrast with what's good for the rest of the world, right? Today I bought my yearly subscription for the Neutrino, and I'm so excited. You are going to love that app, I promise. Right now, I don't need invitations. I just trust my sacral. Exactly. Yes. And so, projectors, they, if they want to do something with other people, they have to wait to be invited. Because if you're a projector in the chat, let me know if this is real for you. As a projector, if you have not waited to be invited, if you have not felt recognized by the people that you want to work with, and you just go in there and start working and giving value, you will end up so bitter. You will end up so resentful and feeling underappreciated and not seen. But it's because you didn't follow your strategy. It's because you didn't follow your unique decision making process, and that's it. That's it. Because it's like you are the way you are. It's like you're a fish or you're a monkey or you're a tiger, and then you try and act like a car. And unfortunately, that just doesn't work. Yes, I try to initiate things all the time and I always end up bitter. Yeah, let it go. Let it go. Experiment with it. Sovereign Sage, do you know anything about the true manifesting generator and year 2027? So by my understanding, the true manifesting generator is a manifesting generator that has this 3420. That's like the manifesting generator line. These gates right here are part of what's called integration circuitry. So this is like the self-empowering element of our body graph. And like for instance, with this person, they have the 3457, but they don't have the 10 and they don't have the 20. So essentially what that means is that their power is going to circulate through their spleen, which is like their keep me alive system. And occasionally people are going to come along, or transits are going to occur that connect this empowerment to the voice or to a sense of identity. So you're here to overcome your individual ego and unfold your true self, which is universal. G luck. So real. Married to a projector, and this is facts. 4-6 projector and a nightmare when you're not invited. Exactly. It's the same as my thinking my kid to be honest. It's the same as my thinking as a kid to be honest. Generator. Good to know. Thanks. Yes. Got it. So if you guys are enjoying this, go ahead and tap the screen. Helps out a lot. This number goes up, and then TikTok will show this to more people, the algorithm. And part of the mission here is really to like give people an opportunity to learn about this stuff because this can transform your life. Someone also asked about 2027 sovereign sage or something sage. So 2027 in human design, there's essentially you could think of it like a prophecy, but really what's happening is we're shifting ages. We've been in this age of planning, which is really all about it's really all about infrastructure. It's all about bargains and deals and government taking care of you and Big Brother and all that. And we're moving into from like a collective and kind of tribal way of being to a more individual way of being, which will still involve other people naturally. But you kind of saw it a lot with COVID, where it was like, who, when things first got locked down, it was like, who am I actually going to like be with? Right. And then it revealed so many things about like, oh, even though we love each other, we are individuals and we do things very differently. That's what being cooped up with someone is like. You really get to see the differences in between yourselves. And in 2027, the entire world is shifting away from infrastructure and government and more towards the individual sovereignty. And by individual sovereignty, we're not talking about like ego individual. We're talking about like truly the thing, like the body graph, the things that like actually genetically and energetically make us unique. So can we talk more about the 4-6 archetype? Sure. So with the 4-6 archetype, you're looking at an opportunist role model. So opportunist is one that is going to really thrive in building a network, right? You want to be able to call your friend and be like, hey, I need a dentist, rather than looking it up on Google, right? You trust people in your network more. And so really seeing that there's a lot of value in your network doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a social butterfly, but it does mean that you have to value and take care of your network. Otherwise, you're going to feel like a loss of significance for yourself. Then on your 6th line, that's going to be what's called a role model. Now, the role model has 3 phases. The 3 phases are going to be like the scorpion, making mistakes, very much so like a martyr, fuck around, find out, marry the wrong person, have a baby that you didn't expect to have, work a job that you hate, making a lot of mistakes. Between 30 and 50, you're going to enter into this phase of your life that's more reflective. This is like, I like to call this the eagle phase. Eagle phase is one where you're more withdrawn. If you're at a party, you've just gone to the roof. You're no longer at the party, you're on the roof. And so 30 to 50 is this time of like, yes, exactly, learning and growing and reflecting, really, because what you're doing is you're looking at all the mistakes that you've made in your life as a role model, and you're saying, wow, how do I help other people not make those mistakes? Or how do I forgive myself for those mistakes? Anyone that, by the way, real quick, anyone who doesn't know what their body graph looks like, just go to my website. It's reikimarco.com, or the link is in my bio, and you can generate your body graph for free. Now, I have reports. If you scroll down from the body graph generator, I have reports that will tell you all about this information. There's a $20 report that'll just give you like the breakdown of all of your information. Then there's a $35 report that's called the Reiki report that will infuse kind of like, hey, this is what human design is. It'll give you like a nice introduction, and then also techniques and like ways to incorporate Reiki into your life to help you embody human design. But anyway, back to the role model. So the role model is going to go through that 10, 20 years of reflection. After that, they're going to re-enter the world as a role model, meaning that they're going to come into the world and have this sort of like been there, done that, and do this instead, or do exactly as I did and get the same results that I did kind of energy. So yeah, knowing your human design is super valuable, just because, really it's so important to know, because, I think everyone really sees the value in knowing yourself. And that can be very hard because we're very complex individuals. And if you don't understand human design, this is a poor example, but I mean, not that this is a bad body graph, but this is a poor example because I want a chart with an undefined center. Green screen. If you guys are enjoying the live, do me a favor, tap the screen. If you guys don't mind reminding each other as well, so that I don't have to keep reminding, the more we can get this number up, the more people will be able to hear about human design. And that's the mission. We just want to share this with as many people as humanly possible. At least give them the opportunity, to to hear about this, because this is such powerful information. Where is see, maybe my internet died. Okay, let's go to my chart then. All right, there's my trying to get us to. Thank you, Coach Coffee. I realized I was pronouncing your name wrong. Nada's a 2-4. So 2-4, I talked about. It's the hermit opportunist. So it's like, go be a hermit, embrace your alone time, but then also, when you're invited out, build your network. That's what the 4 is all about. I think your age is a number. Your experiences are a measure of your credibility. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Is anxiety and nervous system dysregulation linked to splenic authority? Somewhat, yeah. So, okay, so this is the spleen right here. And if you have splenic authority, it's this like it's the voice of intuition, it's the whisper, it's the ringing in your ears, it's the tingle up your butthole when you get too close to an edge, right? It's the part of you that keeps you healthy and alive and is constantly scanning for danger. This is essentially where primarily the awareness of fear lives. Fear is here to help us. Fear is here to help us avoid danger and stay healthy and stay alive. And so if you have a defined spleen or you have splenic authority and you lived in an environment where there was constantly danger, excuse me, what it does is it conditions your nervous system and your spleen and your instinct to be very high strung, right? This is one that is very if you were in an environment where you were bullied a lot, or your parents were abusive, or you had siblings that were abusive, or just environment was hostile, like walking to school, like you didn't know if you were going to get robbed and you were a kid, growing up, if you don't learn how to process that fear, and you don't how to learn how to distinguish the difference between danger and fear, then ultimately the fear will always run your life. It will cause a lot of anxiety. It will cause a lot of suffering for you. And the way to really work with fear and work with danger is quite simple. You have to become a threat. You have to become dangerous. You have to become a weapon. You have to become, these things that society has taught us are quote unquote not good or toxic, right? You have to tap into violence, because when it comes to your splenic self, right, the part of you that is anxious, you would be less anxious if your body knows what to do if someone were to attack you, right? And I say this out of experience, because I've been trained in martial arts since I was like 7 or 8 years old. I'm trained in martial arts. I'm deadly. And I actually saw a video. My friend sent me a video that was like really, really powerful and dark. Um, Say I used to be jumpy, and now I don't give space to fear. There is just not in charge. Yeah. So exercising, taking up a boxing class or a self-defense class. But anyway, I wanted to share this because I think it's super valuable, and I'm going to make a video about this. So when it comes to they interviewed this like sexual predator basically, and they asked him, how did you pick and it was, they would go after children, and they're like, how did you pick the kids that you would go after? And he said, because he would go after all types, and he said, I would look at the father, and if the father wasn't a threat, I would go after that kid. And that was like, that did something to me. And I recognize already that I'm a threat, but it made me so much more yeah, it made me so much more alive to this reality that, like, men, you have to be threatening. Like, not like overly threatening, but you have to be a threat. Otherwise, people are gonna think that they can just come take what they want. And sometimes that's your family members. But anyway, you have to become a weapon and dangerous. Yes, you really do. And for women as well, again, same thing. Is like a woman walking around hoping that men will protect them, or hoping that they will be safe. It's different needing protection and being feeling safe is very different. And when it comes to physical safety, like it really is how much you've trained. It really is how much time you've put yourself under so that you can actually be again, be useful to yourself in a situation like that. You have to be a force so that you can protect yourself and the ones that you love. Exactly. Fashion Slayer, thank you for the reminder. Guys, please tap the screen so we can get this number up. I think a good goal would be, let's see, what did we get to yesterday? We got to 30 yesterday, but I did not have a coffee today. So we're definitely not roaring as hard as we were roaring yesterday. That explains my childhood. Oh, yes. Undermined vendetta. Yeah, so and this is the thing too, is even as a child, if even if your parents like weren't abusive or they weren't really like hard on you, um the world that we live in today is very intense, and even just being on the internet, like you'll see things that will like spike your nervous system, spike your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. um and it basically puts us into like this fight or flight situation, that if your nervous system is always in fight or flight, there's no contrast, then unfortunately that is the realm that you live in. And so again, the best way to, and one of the things about the spleen as well, some of my favorite ways to like regulate the nervous system: jumping, shaking, literally like a cookie person shaking, sprinting is a really good one, kicking and throwing. Right now, naturally, some people are going to have genuine deficiencies in in the chemicals that they're able to release. Their endocrine system, the chemistry will be a little bit off, and so it also might help to, again, if you are doing these things and you still feel like your nervous system is dysregulated, definitely look at it from a medical point of view. But most people that have how you say, quote unquote, natural system, like everything is functioning properly, you just have to do the things that are going to release chemicals, which very much so, like pumping blood, walking, running, throwing, sprinting for sure, punching things, kicking things is very helpful for regulating your nervous system. Strange to do the manifester thing, but the response is so different. Yeah, manifestors is so funny because a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but I have, sometimes I have people who are upset that they're a type that they are. Like they're like, "Oh, I'm just a generator." I'm like, "Bro, just a generator is sick. Like you literally just work on your own satisfaction and that helps everybody." As a manifester, manifestors are the ones that are really here to manifest. They're here to initiate. Their strategy is the one that's like, make it happen, and not necessarily make it happen, but start the thing to make it happen. Inform others that this is happening, and primarily it's really about informing others about what you're going to do before you go do it. Because it's very jarring for a manifester to do something and not tell people about it. The people that are affected by it will be jarred by it more so. Sandy, if you don't know, and this is for anyone that doesn't know what body graph or what human design they are, just go to reikimarco.com. Link is in my bio. And you will be able to generate one of these. Now, this app right here that I'm using the screenshot of is called Neutrino Design. This is the best app out there. It's the most affordable. It's got the most information. It's insane. So and you can definitely discover your gifts. Each one of these centers has a gift for you. And if you get the app, you can literally just tap on the centers and it'll literally just tell you what the gift is, but then also what the shadow is. Toby, what's up? Welcome, welcome. Tapping the screen, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, helping guys. The higher we get this number up, the more TikTok is going to show this live to random people, and the more people are going to be like, "What's human design? I just ran my body graph. Holy shit, I'm crying now. Oh my god, this explains so much." So if you want that for other people, tap the screen, share the live, all of that stuff. Super, super helpful. Reiki Marco, it's me, up 1,000. I'm a split definition 2-4 generator with fear motivation. What is split definition? Can I pay in installments for reading the report I got? Wasn't week, wasn't? What are we saying here? Wasn't I have the most Wi-Fi? Oh, worst Wi-Fi right now. Yeah, 23 degrees. Send me an email here. I'll yeah, send me an email. I appreciate that. You're the best human design guide I ever stumbled across. Oh, I appreciate that. Much love. Send me an email. We'll work something out. Um, by the way, guys, I do also offer readings. You can book them via the link in my bio. Let's see. All the time, and all my heart melts because it shows they're in alignment. Okay, to be an athlete as a manifester. Ooh, an athlete manifest. I think everyone should be an athlete, and I do mean should, because I don't think a human being is at their full potential unless they are exploring their body as an athlete. And it doesn't mean you have to be a professional athlete or like, play sports. What it means is that your body should be athletic, right? Like you should have this ability to like whip shit without hurting yourself. And you have that ability as a kid. Like remember when you were a kid and you would like fall and you like bounce off shit and you were just like bouncy and like vibrant, but as you got older things got a little bit stiffer and a little bit tighter. That's not that doesn't have to happen. It happens because we spend so much time driving, or we spend so much time on the smartphone, or we spend so much time in these postures that are not natural for us. Like sitting down in nature, it's very rare to find something that I can sit down on like I would sit in a car. Or, if I'm like eating a fruit, that's as close as you get to like using a smartphone, but you're not, constantly peeling and eating fruits all the time. Nor are you like really focused on it. Like if you've peeled a fruit 1,000 times, you don't even need to look at the fruit. You can just peel it while looking off into the distance. Another great thing for splenic stuff, by the way, guys, is splenic stuff, sensory mechanics. So what is sensory mechanics? We can do it right now. So if everyone just looks at the screen, and what you're going to want to do is keep your eyes focused on the screen, and you're going to turn your head to the left while you keep your eyes on the screen. Now you want to turn your head as far as you can without using the shoulder to push your head in that direction. So keep the shoulders back and down. Turn your head all the way to the left. Keep the eyes focused on the screen. Swallow. And exhale. Come back to center. Inhale. Don't let the shoulder come forward. Swallow. Exhale. Inhale. We're going to do this 2 more times. This is also for my practice. Swallow. Exhale. Come back to center. Inhale to the right. Keep the eyes focused on the screen. And again, it's like you're trying to like look behind you with your face. Swallow. Exhale. Come back to the center. 1 more time because this feels really good. Head all the way to the left. Like you're trying to go exorcist and get your head to spin around. Swallow. Exhale. And last time to the other side. Swallow. And exhale. Okay, so that's an exercise to make the neck wider. That felt amazing. For anyone that did it, let me know how it felt in the comments. Just discovered your channel, ordered my $20 report last night. Awesome, Chris. Generator, and wondered how that comes through in life as an entrepreneur. Right. So as a generator and an entrepreneur, like really so important to like find the thing about your entrepreneurship that's really satisfying and outsource everything else. Right. Like figure out the thing that you can generate on, and then everything else, figure out a way to outsource it. So that way you can just work on the things that like you really enjoy doing. It's really about attracting. It's about being satisfied. It's about showing yourself doing the thing. I also do business readings for anyone that wants to know how to apply human design to their lives. Yeah. So anyway, what that exercise that we just did, I call it sensory mechanics. Some of my friends call it sensory mechanics too. My colleagues, I should call them the colleagues. We work together. And if anyone wants to access more of those, visit my website, reikimarco.com. You scroll all the way down. It says the archive. The archive is just like all of these exercises. There's so many more, guys. There's like so many more exercises that I could show you, but I can't show you right now because we're in just a whole little like soup, and we're churning, and I'm a reflector. I need you as a life coach. Well, I'm here. I'm definitely here. again, anyone that wants to work with me directly, you can just book via the links in my bio. And yeah, I do couple sessions, I do business sessions, all kinds of stuff. That neck exercise was fantastic. Yeah, it's really good. So yeah, so anyone that wants more of those exercises, again, this is great for the nervous system, the spleen, survival, but this is also really good, believe it or not, for emotion, because one of the things that a lot of people speak on when it comes to like I'm hypersensitive, I'm neurodivergent, I'm ADHD, I can't pay attention. It's not that the world is too stimulating. It's that your ability to receive information and tolerate information, like your ability to tolerate the thing that you're seeing and have a high resolution image of like, hey, that's happening out there, not necessarily inside me. That's you're like looking through binoculars, but you haven't taken the caps off yet, or there's like pinholes in the caps. You're looking through a constricted lens, and it's quite literally this neck. Look how much wider I can make my neck. That does something. And it's not just happening width-wise, it's also happening depth-wise. So my neck is also able to grow like this. Now this is awesome because this is because we live in a world where we're like engaging with flat screens so much, you're starting to see everyone's posture change. And you see the posture of athletes and people that are really engaged with their senses and their bodies, and they have wider necks, they have bigger eyes, they have bigger nostrils, right? And it's not that that's better, but it's to each person there's a threshold of they're able to again bring more information into their body so that they can respond more appropriately. Most people have this issue of like, oh, the external world needs to be less stimulating. It's like, no, 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 no. You will waste a lot of energy trying to make the external world less stimulating. You will have a much easier time just making yourself more tolerant and more resilient. So, yes, this would be considered a somatic exercise. Now, when it comes to emotions, because I said this was good for emotions, again, your ability to allow emotions to pass through you as opposed to holding on to them as though, there's something to identify with, has to do with your ability to take in sensory information, bring it into your body, and cook it, like cooking it. So, as a massage therapist, I'm happy someone else sees we need to move and stretch and drink some water. Great reminder. I haven't had that much water today. Oh, I forgot. I brought myself a little bubbly water. Stro Lives, have fun at work. Much love. Thank you so much for joining the live. Appreciate you. I love that people are tuning in before work. And there's another brother here, Alexander, who's tuning in at the gym, which is awesome. This is great, guys. We're at 12,000 now. This is so wonderful. So yeah, if you're enjoying the live, guys, please do me a favor, tap the screen, share the live with people, with friends. It's just gonna help the algorithm show us to more people, and then again, more people can like learn about human design. Let's see. If my daily life is boring, means I'm not being poet enough to call forth its riches. That's pretty poetic in itself, Alex. Toby, deeper HD knowledge about your digestion needs. Oh yeah, PHS, primary health systems. Um, I feel we are dysregulated because we don't cry enough. For sure. A lot of people are they have what I like to call like stagnant and old water in their bodies. Right? So when they feel sad and they want to cry, instead of crying, they try and make themselves feel better. Or when they're you know, angry and they want to rage and spit and sweat, they convince themselves that violence is a bad thing and that they're a bad person if they do that. Sovereign Sage, thank you for sharing the live. Human design is so complex. I'm lost whenever I'm looking at my chart. You are very like it's definitely a lot to do. Use Chat GTP to read it. So you can definitely do that. I'm wary with ChatGTP just because ChatGTP has a tendency to convolute a lot of information online because it just scrubs the entire internet. So be very mindful about it. Don't ask, like you can't just say like, "Hey, tell me about my chart." Like it might give you information that just might be so off. So yeah, I really don't recommend using it. You can, it will for some people it will give them the right explanations, but because you don't know, I've read some things that ChatGTP has said, and it's like not good. It makes a lot of mistakes. So yeah, I don't really recommend that. Um, One thing I do recommend that you do is download this app. So this app is it's called Neutrino Design. And if you download it through my website, you can get 25% off, and it's the full app, it's the whole thing. Um, but you can basically you can like tap on all of this information. And really, if you go down, you see here, you can't really see, but there's like um, a basics chart where you can get information on your profile and your strategy, and that's really where you want to spend a lot of your time is like, how am I going to apply the basics of human design, which again is in this app. It's in a tab down here. You just scroll down. It's not a ton of information. It's a lot of information, but it's not a ton of information. And apply that over the next 28 days and experiment. Spider Monkey, I purchased a report from you and it was amazingly accurate. Yes. So thank you so much. I'm happy it was accurate because as much as that's awesome that the app the reading or the analysis was accurate, what's really awesome is that if it's accurate and you resonate with the stuff, it means that you know who you are already, or at least to a degree you know who you are, which is very cool. Can two mandarins have a successful relationship? I found it to be challenging. Absolutely. Anyone can have a successful relationship. It's really about level of acceptance of yourself and acceptance of another person. Because if you accept yourself and you accept the other person and you're not compatible, the resolution that you will come to is, hey, I love you so much and you love me so much. We both know that we're not right for each other. We shouldn't be in a relationship, or we shouldn't be in this dynamic. Now, one of the things that's really important in relationships is sleep in your own bed. Sleep in your own bed. If you love someone enough to be intimate with them, love them enough to cuddle them, and then when it's time to go sleep, go to your own bed and sleep in your own bed. So, Fashion Slayer, definitely something to experiment with 2 to 3 nights a week. Or if you just want to go cold turkey, go for it. Sleep in your own bed, because when we're sleeping, especially in our undefined centers, like this is my body graph, all of my centers are undefined. Whenever I sleep next to someone, all of their stuff is going to get into here. I don't have anything here keeping this exclusively for me. This is the G center. So I might wake up feeling like I need to move in a direction that my partner feels like they need to move in. It's particularly if you have an undefined sacral, definitely. But anybody with undefined centers at all, um, sleep in your own bed. And even if you do have fully defined centers, you still need your own bed. Like if you think about the amount of alone time and how nourishing alone time is, so much alone time gets lost in sleeping with somebody else. Is it possible? It is possible to have every center defined. So Fashion's there. Cuddle, and then be done. You know what I mean? Like cuddle until your arms fall asleep. But then once you actually start to fall asleep, and this is the thing, is like, because you may be having problems in your relationship that are literally just from the from sleeping in the same bed as the person every night. But I prefer to sleep alone. Yeah, I get it. I love cuddling too, but I also like feeling refreshed and not feeling resentful of my partner. So I picked the lesser of two evils. Great. I'm a SSP sleeping with a generator. Self-protector projector sleeping with a generator. Yes, get out of that bed. And for the people that have partners that are like, oh, I can't, I need my person to sleep. You want to be able to work through that. Yeah, there is nothing to me that's more destructive in a relationship than that. Um, Simply because eventually the person that needs you to sleep just needs someone. They'll eventually just need somebody. Jesus loves you. He doesn't want you to do this anymore. Repent and sleep in your own bed. Exactly. I can't even sleep when someone is close to me. I like starfishing in my own bed. Yeah, I did, and that's another thing too. Is like on a physical level, it's like anytime the other person moves, you wake up a little bit, right? Anytime they sneeze or something, you wake up a little bit. So it's so important to preserve sleep as a really really important part of life. And in human design tells us that, but also experimentation tells us that. I've learned a lot about myself through human design. Exactly. And this is the beautiful thing about it, is like this is a map. Okay, if I have a map, I don't necessarily have the treasure. I have a way to get to the treasure, but I don't have the treasure yet. The map is not the treasure. The map is the directions to the treasure. In human design, this is the map, but you still got to go find the treasure. You still got to learn about yourself. You still got to experiment. You like that, Zuzu? And sleep in your own bed. I wake up constantly. I don't like being the one waking someone else up either. Yeah. How long are your business sessions? So my business sessions they're about 90 minutes. I'll go over. Like, here's the thing about when you work with me in personal sessions. I've never had a session last longer than 2 hours. I've never had a session last, yeah, I've never had a session last longer than 2 hours. And we always get everything that we need to get done in that session, right? Like, for me, if you're gonna come to me and you're gonna pay me, I'm gonna make sure you have like everything you need for like so that you don't have to pay anyone for the next like ideally my goal is to like set you up for the next 18 months, right? Doesn't mean you can't get more support, but especially for people, because when I was learning human design, I was like broke as a joke and I did not have a lot of money and I really wanted to learn it. And so I based my sessions around that. I based my sessions where how can I give like an extreme amount of value to somebody to the point where they can be able to self-resource this information because now they have a bird's eye view of how to do this. How long have we been on live? It's been, let's see, what time is it? 36, like 40 minutes based off a chart. Can you see how intuitive someone can be? Kind of. Not really, because this is the thing, is like everyone has varying levels of connections with their chart. Like, for instance, you might look at my chart, right? And think, wow, this dude is super intuitive because he has all of these undefined centers, right? Um, and I'm not saying I'm not intuitive, but I know people that are way more intuitive than me that have a lot more definition in their body graphs. And so, this is one of the things, and part of what I love about human design, or at least the way that I use human design. I'm not pretending to like know things about people. I'm genuinely asking, like, where does this show up in your life? What's your relationship with this? Right. And so sessions with me are kind of like that. Where I will ask questions because what I want to find out, and the best way for me to help you is to help you realize where you're at. And this is where a lot of people, unfortunately, have a lot of blind spots, unconsciously not looking at certain things as a way of, preserving an idea about themselves or preserving a relationship that they really value. Um, but helping yourself come to terms with where you're at is the first step to taking the right step in a direction of where you actually want to go. So does more defined centers have the older soul? No, not necessarily. At least I don't believe that. Definition and lack of definition in body graphs, they don't do stuff like that where they tell you like the age of your soul. Simply, and not to say that I don't believe in old souls and new souls and stuff like that, but in a nutshell, it's like, the age of a soul to me is a very egoic thing for a human being to like talk about. Like, oh yes, I'm a very old soul. That's why this, and this. Well, how about just this, and this? Why do you need I'm an old soul or I'm a new soul? Like, right? It's like oh, I'm new here. That's why I suck at this. Or, hey, I just suck at this. Right? Like to me, to me, it's egoic information. And so, again, no offense to anyone that is helpful for, but to me, like, people have told me you have such an old soul, Marco. I'm like, cool, thanks. And then sometimes people are like, oh, you have such a new soul. Your soul is so fresh. And I'm like, cool, thanks. Like, it doesn't actually make me move any differently. And it's one of those things where, you know, I think about when I first was like awakened to spirituality and you know, my connection to the universe and energy, non-physical energy, metaphysics and stuff. And I remember how much there was this like buzz about like being an old soul, and how much there was this buzz about like being psychic or being a healer. It was like being a healer is so hot right now. And I was buying into it naturally. I didn't know what I was doing, but as I matured, I realized, and I look at people, you know, who would like identify as healers, me being one of them, also me being a third line. Hell yeah, fuck around, find out. Um, there was so much realization and compassion for people that are excited about that, because it is like the shiny new thing. But I think about that movie Indiana Jones. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's the third one. He's like in the room with all of the holy grails, and they're all these gaudy cups, and he's like, uh, which cup is the Lord Christ's cup? And he goes, that one right there. And it's this shitty old brass. He goes, that's the cup of a carpenter. And I'm like, damn, bro. Jesus was a carpenter, bro. He didn't have like a fancy gaudy cup. He was a carpenter. And you know, in terms of the being a healer, um, you know, having an old soul, again, none of that is bad. But if it distracts from you doing the things that actually makes you a healer and actually makes you have this like ancient wisdom feel to you, you're totally missing the point, right? Like there are people who would literally spend more energy trying to convince the internet that they're an old soul than actually investing into doing things that mature their souls and age them in a good way. Are your readings interactive? I had a reading once, felt like a lecture, but oh yeah, there's a lot of readers out there that are just going to lecture you. I'm super interactive. I love asking questions. Now, I will rant. I will definitely rant, but it's super interactive. I love questions. It's so important. What happens to our body graph aura when we drink alcohol? Oh, such a cool question. And what do you think about sleeping with pets in the bed? I think that's fine. Um, Definitely, like it's not as impactful as having a human being sleep with you. Um, but again, you know, it is another being in your bed, so there might be some level of convolution of energies. So okay, let's talk about alcohol and painkillers. So alcohol is a depressant. Even though it makes you feel good, it's a depressant. Painkillers are also a depressant. Again, they're suppressing your ability to like feel stuff, really. Um, And with alcohol as well as painkillers, one of the things that a lot of people don't consider is what's called like the fields, right? So let's say you're at a bar and everybody's drinking alcohol. Alcohol makes you sloppy, right? So everybody's energy is just like all over the place. People are like, you know, putting my emotions into her ajna and her ajna into my sacral, and all it's just being it's everything is just like blah 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 blah. So they definitely lower your vibration, but it's important to understand why, because low vibration is not always bad. It lowers your vibration in the sense that when you are engaging with alcohol in the spirit of alcohol, it's forcing your spirit out of your body. So it's like it's almost like if I were to drink alcohol, all of the safeguards that I have to protect and keep my emotions safe, to keep my sense of identity safe, they get forced out by the alcohol. Alcohol was used in alchemy to extract the essence or extract the spirit of something. So when you put alcohol in your body, what it's doing is it's extracting the spirit from your body, and it lets your guard down, exactly, and it will allow other energies that you normally in your right state of mind would not allow into your field. So if you can think about a cell wall or even a city wall, you know, it's like the guards go to sleep. Or literally when the guards get drunk and then the mercenaries show up dressed up as farmers, they're not as sharp, they're not as able to tell. They're not able to tell, oh, are these, you know, people going to kill all the people inside, or are they just farmers? Oh, we're loose. You know, it makes things very loose. And painkillers totally just numb you out, right? And so uh, uh, that was funny. Yeah. So, wow. Did someone just say they're gonna stop drinking? This came at a perfect time. KO, yes, stop drinking, my friend. And this is one thing too, is like, especially if you want to be, if you're committed to, you know, a a more loving relationship with yourself, drinking is not something that can be a regular part. There's nothing wrong with doing anything in my there's some things wrong. Drink when it comes to drinking, like if you drink like a ceremonial wine, cool, right? But if you like drink a bunch of glasses of wine every night, every weekend, if it's like a regular thing for you, again, you got to consider like they used to have like very specific rituals to drink alcohol in order to in order to um bring about certain results. Like they would intentionally eject themselves from their bodies. I'm mostly talking about ancient Egyptians, but the Greeks did this too. They purposely ejected themselves intentionally from their body to allow some spirit or some other energies to move through them to get information, right? People are not drinking alcohol for that reason. And not that that was even a good reason to do it, because I personally don't think maybe we do need it. We have needed it. But at this point now, there's such a better way. Like you could just read your human design. Also, too, a lot of people will use substances, alcohols, um after you come down. Exactly, that's when you feel all of the shit that you were avoiding. So we use these substances as a way of what's called bypassing um certain things that we don't want to look at, because maybe it causes some degree of pain and suffering. And so we'll just go, get drunk or take painkillers to have to avoid addressing that thing. And it's a horrible thing to do to yourself, right? It's a really horrible thing to do to yourself, because um it doesn't scream I love myself. It definitely doesn't. um Darian, I've gone 5 years without drinking alcohol. Cheers, my brother. That's amazing. Yeah, and I remember being in college and drinking alcohol and getting high all the time, and holy shit, that was scary. That was very scary. I just started eliminating things that I did not need in my diet. Brilliant. Elimination diet and human design are very similar in the sense that with human design, when you figure out your strategy, like most people's strategy has some kind of weight involved, but they're probably very addicted to initiating and starting things, making things happen. And so when you start to eliminate the initiating, um, right? Exactly. It takes time. It's very uncomfortable. Things don't happen. But after a while, things start to happen for you rather than you needing to go make them happen. Right. Or you start, ideally, what's supposed to happen when you learn how to wait and be patient is you realize that you're holding on to a bunch of strings attached to a bunch of people and a bunch of things that don't really care as much about you as you think they do. Um, would you be able to explain the environment part? Mine is caves. Yeah, totally. So environment is, again, and in your app, also in your report, if you get a report from me, this has all the information in there as well about your environment. But your environment is where you like feel at home. It's where you're going to feel like the most, like where you're going to feel like yourself the most. And so for a cave person, that's going to be, low ceilings, low light, colder temperatures, one entrance, one exit. So I can see who comes in, come out. It's very like safe. I can have my valuables and have my back to the cave. And so it's important as a cave person to like know where your cave is. Or when you are at a party and you get anxious at parties, figure out where the cave is at the house that you're at the party at or at the venue where you're at. And if you need to go there, go there. So environment is, again, if you're on the app, all you do is scroll down. If you have bought a report, it will be in the first section of your report under environment. So let's see. The report is in US dollars, Australia. I'm pretty sure if they're all in English. Unfortunately, we don't have uh language options quite yet. But you should be able to, it should do the currency transfer for you. Any advice for manifestors? Learn how to like interrupt people and be a little bit more abrasive. Most manifestors are habitually like they think they're too much, but the reality is like they're not really letting themselves shine, and that's working against them. Some tricks for the reflector. Totally. So, as a reflector, one of the things, and I actually use this app. So you see this says transit down here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but one of the cool things about human design is that you can overlay the current transit, like the current position of the stars over yours, and you'll be able to see, like, sometimes this gate is on and it my throat and my solar plexus are defined, right? So when you're able to learn how to track transits, this is great for projectors as well. um, when you have definition in these centers, those are really good times to like explore. And if you have the app, again, you can literally just tap on all of these numbers and it'll give you information, like very detailed, highly specific information. And I would recommend, as a reflector, whenever your center definition changes, and you can actually turn notifications on from this app, it'll let you know, hey, your solar plexus and your throat are now defined, right? So when your solar plexus is defined, one of the good questions that you can ask yourself is, where am I avoiding conflict? Hey, Marco, can you tell me your thoughts on relaxing or receptive markets as an environment? I'm pretty sure my reports will do better than I can do when it comes to markets, but markets is essentially where your goods and ideas and things are exchanged, right? Um, is this my app? I didn't develop it, but it is my app. I'm a part of the neutrino design team. So if you actually just visit the link in my bio, you can get 25% off, and it's the same app, right? It's just, you're just going to get 25% off because, like, I'm the master distributor of neutrino design. Yeah, it goes from being like $36 to like 27 bucks. So not a huge discount, but it is a discount, and it's a freaking insanely good app. So visit the link in my bio, reikimarco.com. Also, I just noticed we made it to 21,000. Yeah, yeah. What's up? Someone put a cowboy hat on me now. What? What? Thank you guys so much. This always, like, kind of freaks me out how many what do you call it? How many people end up liking these lives, right? So why does definition matter in a chart? Great question. Um, Definition is the parts of you that are going to be consistent. Like, so for me, these gates are the most consistent things I have, right? I can go ahead and change this chart to show a more defined chart. But essentially, what you're looking at with the definition is um, your consistent self, like the parts of you that will not turn off or will not go away even when other people are around. And most people have a mix of like defined centers and undefined centers. Um, that picture doesn't want to load. That's so funny. That's like the best picture I have for human design. I guess I'll just put the other picture back up. Yeah. So all my centers are undefined. Open centers, just as for anyone, if for anyone wants to get like really accurate, open centers are where you have no gate definition and you have a completely white center. So you can see these are undefined centers because all of my centers have at least one or two gate activations in them. Um, and so when you have a center that's completely white, it essentially is like even more open than an undefined center. So undefined centers, there's some quality of, emotional processing that I have. There's some qualities of consistent ego that I have, or heart energy that I have. When you have completely open, it means there's no concept of those things, right? Or other than what you've seen with other people. So it can be very challenging for people with open centers to, for instance, if you have an open emotional center, it can be very challenging not only to know which emotions are yours, but also know what the best way to process those emotions are. So each one of these shapes is a center. And when you have so you have this gate right here. If I had this gate, which is gate 12, if that was connected, I would be a manifester. My solar plexus would be defined and my throat would be defined. By definition, if you have your throat connected to the heart, the solar plexus, or the root, that's going to be a manifester, right? So how do you see your aura? If you're talking about physically seeing your aura, you have to learn how to use your peripheral vision, and it helps when you're in like very misty environments to be able to see, like looking through yourself, being able to see the energy around you. You can see and perceive your aura. You can feel your aura, which is a lot easier because any heat that you're feeling is part of the auric field. But if you want to know what your body graph looks like, visit my website, reikimarco.com, generate a body graph. It's totally for free. I recommend buying a report. The Reiki reports are really helpful because they give like philosophy on human design as well as techniques. And yeah, so our two projectors a good couple? Can be, Carl, if they do a good job of recognizing each other, and if they're honest with themselves about what's important to them and they have good communication, they two projectors can be a great couple. Open root, open head, and the rest is undefined reflector. Oh wow, so you very open, my friend. So let's talk about this real quick. So these are two centers that are very important. This is the root down here. The root is the center for pressure to do things. Up there is the head. That is the center for pressure of thinking. Pressure of thinking, pressure to do. Stress, inspiration. If your centers are undefined, or if they're white up here, means that a lot of your inspiration, a lot of the thoughts that you're thinking, a lot of the problems you're thinking about, and a lot of the stress that you're experiencing typically is coming from the external world, right? As well as what thoughts to think about and how to deal with the stress, those are going to come from the external world. So it's important to be very, how you say, fluid with the way that you handle stress. Don't just try and bang it out the same way every time. Same thing with the inspiration. Being inspired by the same thing over and over again. For somebody with an undefined head or an open head, you're going to have, you're going to run into a lot of picking up on other people's problems rather than actually working on inspiration that's relevant to you, thinking about other people's problems, being stressed out by other people's shit, even TV shows that you watch or stuff you see on the internet. So very important to limit your exposure to unnecessary stress and unnecessary inspiration, which this is the one that people are all addicted to now. I like to call them like podcast glazers, because they watch thousands of hours of podcasts and listen to so much podcasts, but they don't ever do anything different. I don't listen to many podcasts. There's some people, I follow people that are brilliant and they have great ideas to share, but I don't typically listen to a lot of podcasts because I'm not here to download what other people are uploading. I'm here to upload what I'm here to upload. Occasionally there'll be great things for me to download, but especially with as much openness as I have here, my sense of self can get very easily lost in other people's identities, especially if they have really strong identities. What's it like to have all defined centers? I have a brother that's he has all defined centers. He's freaking awesome. He's very calm. He's very chill. He knows who he is. He can get very emotional. He definitely likes to move at his own pace. He's very defined. He's very like, every time I see Luke, it's the same person, right? And not that he has no variety, and not that I'm never the same person. But he's, in terms of like his way of doing things, he has a way of doing things, whereas I'm much more fluid in that. I just listen. If it resonates with me, I take it. Right. So, and here's the thing too, is like, everything that resonates with you is not always necessarily good. Just like things that don't resonate with you aren't necessarily bad. It's not about morality with human design or Reiki. It's really about your place in it. Is it harmonious? Is it not harmonious? Is it deregulating me? Is it regulating me? Right. And then you choose. Do you want to be dysregulated? Go. Great. Go drink. Go, be in an abusive relationship if you want to be dysregulated. And here's the reality. Some people want to be dysregulated, but they won't admit it. And that's why they're stuck in bad relationships. Whereas if you just admit, hey, there's part of me that really wants to be dysregulated, part of me really wants to be a victim because this and this and this and this, that is a place that you can actually move from. The place of like, I don't want to be abused. I love myself so much, but I just love this person also, and blah blah blah. Like, that's just delusion. Doesn't need to be that way. All right, so this is the only book that I recommend for human design. It's the textbook. Um, this is a really good book. I learned before neutrino design existed. I learned from that book. Um, if you can give advice to a generator, what would it be? Dance more, spiral your hips, uh, learn to tolerate and eventually enjoy your own singing voice. Respond with uh-huhs and uh-uhs instead of yes or no's. Anytime you say, I think something, ask yourself, how do I feel about this? And then drop into your gut. Oh, here's the book. Oh God. There it is. So I don't have the links to this in my bio, but I probably should. I'll make a note and set that up. That's a good idea actually. Got into HD through you, man. Keep up. Functional Joe, my love. Functional. I love functional patterns. That's why I said my love. Can two generators be a power couple? Yeah, absolutely. Why is it uh-huh and nuh-uh? It can be anything. It's just important for them to be sounds and not like I think this, I think that, right? Because what you have with your sounds, they're called sacral responses. Think about when you're making love or when you're eating food that's really good, like it tastes really good. You go, or if it's really bad, you go, ugh. So yeah, it's your gut talking for you. And as a generator, you want to just listen to your gut. So important to just listen to your gut. Uh, add. So someone was asking about the gene keys. Um, Gene Keys, Richard Rudd was actually a student of Ra, who's the guy that brought through human design. Um, Ra decided to focus more on the I Ching and certain sequences of these numbers as opposed to the body graph. It is a beautiful system. It's kind of competitive in the sense that they don't really focus much on strategy and authority. However, I've seen that to be probably the most helpful thing ever. Like for a generator, what I was talking about, the uh-huhs and uh-uhs, listening to your gut, that is that is strategy. That is a strategy for a generator. Um, and it's so important that you use your strategy to unlock these qualities of yourself, because if you just go straight for these, a lot of the times you're not actually able to observe, contemplate, reflect on your auric field, which is what your body graph will tell you is. And unfortunately, it will just be a lot of like spiritual mental masturbation. You teach human design? I do not teach human design in a course. I've been contemplating that actually. Um, now that we've been going live, or now that I've been going live, it's helping me to see what is the most effective way to help you guys. So if that's something that you want, um, let's get this to 50,000. No, I'm kidding. But let's definitely like, you know, continue to show up, continue to learn, because I'm also okay with you learning human design through just tuning in live with us here. Like I'm totally okay with that. Um, let's see. What's the importance of the incarnation cross? So incarnation cross is like it's essentially it's the combination of your personality sun and earth and your design sun and earth creates a cross. And in the rave calendar, so if you can think about the sky, it's like when you were born, 88 days before you were born, this is going to be where the earth was when you were born, and that's where the earth was 88 days before you were born. That creates a geometry essentially, and it's like your primary purpose in life. Now your purpose is going to be fulfilled by using your aura properly, by using your body graph properly. um 88 days before, so to be totally honest, 88 days, that's what they say. But 88 days is also around the time when the woman goes into 88 days before birth is a general time frame of like second trimester going into third trimester. What's happening is like your body is like kind of solidifying more so, and your consciousness or your conscious parts of you are able to go. Jenny, what's up? I was wondering where you were. Were you the one that said sorry you're late? Sorry, sometimes my eyes, I'm like back here and I can't see with the text on the screen, and then sometimes this chat just goes so fast. So who are the keepers of the wheel? Um, I don't really know too much about the keepers of the wheel. That's one of the few godheads that I'm not really familiar with. Again, simple Google search will actually do you pretty good, because when it comes to the godheads, then this is really interesting. So this is the Rave Mandala, right? So each one of these sections, and it's not based off zodiac, but each one of these sections there's what's called 16 godheads, and I don't think they're in here. We could do a live all about godheads. But essentially what's going on with the godheads is if you look at your personality, Chris, your personality number, so mine is 22, okay? And I go to I Google human design godhead, and I find the number on the wheel. What you'll be able to do is you'll be able to see which godhead rules your number. Now, this is helpful because essentially what you're looking at is a sort of like God that thinks it's you. Like the gods are formless, they have no bodies. When we are manifested, we're kind of being able to look at like the fragment of the Godhead that is kind of like in our mind. And so, for instance, mine is Mitra, which is like an ancient Persian god, and it's very Apollo-esque. It's like music, art, mystery, things like that. And so Mitra is ultimately always with me, but I'm not living out Mitra's life. I consciously live out the life of Marco Milbach, born 3/9/1993 in San Diego, not the ancient Persian god Mitra. And the reason why the godheads come from all different, there's Hindu gods, there's Greek gods, there's Persian gods, there's Egyptian gods. And it's not so much about you know the meaning of the gods so much as the stories that human beings tell about them. Yeah. Do you know what it means to share the same red numbers as somebody? So having like the same design date, is that what you're talking about? If someone has like the same numbers as you, or let's say you're a twin, right? Like if you have a twin, ultimately they are going to make different decisions, they're going to have different experiences than you, and so they are going to manifest a different life. Like even if someone has the exact same body graph as you, no one is in the same body and therefore is always going to live different lives. Now you might find some level of camaraderie with those types of people, where like you have you have the same circuitry as them, or you have similar numbers as them, but it's not necessarily something that is going to be like, oh, we're the same type of person. But in a lot of ways it might mean that you have shared values, or there's some kind of resonance that you have with each other. Does a lunar eclipse at the time of my birth change anything? I don't know. That's very interesting though. I like looking at design and personality separate and together sometimes. That can definitely be helpful. With neutrino design, you can do everything. You can look at design separately, you can look at personality separately. It's awesome. 14. I don't know which one 14 is. I've seen the videos where you do the questions, and I think they're neat. Good. I'm so happy that is probably one of the things I wish people would do more of. I wish more people would practice using sacral sounds because of how impactful they can be in your life, whether you're defined or undefined, right? Manifestors, projectors, and reflectors don't follow the sacral sounds blindly, but practice the sacral sounds. Because I have learned the difference between an that's like actually my and an that I'm just doing because because somebody else wants them, and definitely reflectors learn how to use your sacral, because again, everyone has a sacral. Yeah, and so for people that are asking about the godhead, I don't have a visual of it. You'll have to go Google it right now, or later. um if you just Google human design Godhead, you'll see images where it has like different Godheads around the Rave Mandala, which is the calendar that we use in human design. So there's a wheel, and if you just find your number, the personality on the wheel, that's it. Any chance of a quick dummies guide for a newbie as a guest, please, brother Bob? So the Reiki reports that I sell on my website are actually kind of that. It's definitely, I did my best to condense down as much of this book as I could, and the full report, which includes your analysis and different techniques on how to like unlock yourself. Um, the full thing I think is maybe like 80 pages or more. But there's probably about 20 to 30 pages, just like normal, normal pages that's like a beginner's guide to human design. So that report, I call it the Reiki report. It's $35 on my website, and it'll be personalized to your body graph. So I definitely recommend that. Unfortunately, there's no like um way for me to put everything into this, because there's just an insane amount of information and design. But the important things for everyone to learn right out the gates and further down the line. Like I am I'm like 8 years deep into my experiment, and I am still mastering my strategy, right? I'm still mastering my strategy. Um, and a lot of the times it's because as a human being, we're not here to get everything right. We're not here to live perfect lives. The goal is not to live a perfect life. No one gets out of this thing alive. No one gets out of this alive. The goal is not to get out alive and unscathed and with no bumps and no bruises and make no mistakes. The goal is to accept ourselves, is to love ourselves, and ultimately I think is to just leave the world a little bit better than when we found it. That's my goal, at least. And so far, I've found that human design is one of the most effective and brilliant ways that we can do that. Who else got the Janus Godhead? The goal is to live. Exactly, Carl. The goal is to live, be alive. Emo Manny here. I'm supposed to inform, but I'm shy and uncomfy. Advice on how to do practice. Practice informing people. Even if you have to be very like timid at first, like, hey, I'm really sorry I have to do this, but I'm going to move in that direction. Can you please move out of the way? You just have to practice. You have to start somewhere. Be apologetic if you need to be. It's better to be apologetic and informing people than to not inform people because you're afraid of being misunderstood. But ultimately, again, you're going to be misunderstood. If you're shy, it's not a bad thing. It just means that you haven't practiced enough. As a manifester, it's important for you to not be shy, because ultimately, as a manifester, if you're not informing and you're not initiating things, you suffer and the people around you suffer. Not beat yourselves up for our faults or bumps and bruises. Yes, exactly. And you're not always going to be understood. Yeah. And the goal, like, I don't think the goal also is to be understood. Like, my goal is to more so, I'd rather be understood than understood, because I don't even understand myself sometimes, guys. Like, logically, I sometimes do things that don't make sense that end up really working out. And sometimes I do things that don't make sense that don't end up working out. And instead of trying to explain it to myself, because I could spend years and years and years and years trying to explain it, or I could just in a moment be like, yeah, I love that part of myself. It's all good. 30K, guys, 30K. This is crazy. Actually, it's funny, when I got on the live, I definitely didn't feel like the normal boost that I've been feeling the past couple times that we've gone. And I was worried we weren't going to get to 30K, but we got to 30K. With that being said, though, I do have to wrap this up in about 8 minutes because I have another session. But this has been awesome, guys. So was this originally based or derived from uh, Sanatan Dharma? So this human design it was actually synthesized in the 80s. And it was a synthesis of the Kabbalah, the I Ching, astrology, and the chakra system. So it's a lot of, again, ancient systems, and but it's a new way of viewing these ancient systems, right? Sorry, I was late. It was the Please do not apologize. You are Exactly on time, my friend. You're exactly on time. Um, and yeah, it really, what I love about human design in terms of the synthesis of it is like, stand alone, you don't have to believe in anything. I didn't just look at human design and be like, I believe in human design now. It was like I looked at human design as like, I'm gonna break this thing. I'm gonna prove this wrong. And then I started using it and I was like, oh, I'm not proving it wrong. I'm actually really into this. This system really, really works. Manny Jen with a husband reflector. Oh my God, make sure you're sleeping in your own bed. Make sure you invite him to like take time by himself. Um, he definitely needs to be moving his body. So celebrate him and reward him and like reward him when he's doing those things and when he's not doing those things. Um, let him know that's he needs to be doing those things for himself. Thoughts on the Enneagram personality test? Again, I identify with this doesn't necessarily actually mean I am that way, right? And so it's, Enneagram to me, any personality test to me is inherently flawed because you're not looking at someone on an atomic level. You're looking at them from a mental level. And from a mental level, I can be a cat. So, not that the profiling system is messed up. It's just the way that you test into it or identifying with something. Again, systems that are based off of resonance are not necessarily accurate systems, right? If I think I'm an A-type person, maybe that's just because my dad was an A-type person and I really want his approval. It doesn't actually tell me anything. Would you perceive human design as ascending or quantum aspects? So, Taylor's son, I think you asked also about what you call it is uh you also asked about evolutions or developments in human design, which there are a handful of gene keys is one development. Quantum human design is like a really fluffy, like if you need like really fluffy language, quantum human design is cool. Um, but then also like what I'm working on essentially, which is like neutrino design, is really finding a way to move beyond design, move beyond needing a body graph to feel what someone's definition is like or feel what their energy is like. And that comes through like some of the sensory mechanics drills that we were doing earlier, all the stuff in the archive. I'm just confused how you can take three systems from completely different cultures and synthesize them, generate. So great question. And if you actually listen to the story, it was like Ra was basically possessed and shown how to calculate this stuff. So it's and it's like a white dude, which people like to take up qualms against Ra because he's a white guy that invented a system of spirituality. But again, like I've tried to break this system. I've not been able to do it. And so whatever it is that he synthesized or whatever it is that he came into contact with, it is genuinely helping. Right. And I would know because I've broken other systems before. Like again, a lot of personality tests and stuff like that. I want to say I broke astrology, but there's a lot of things that systems that get put out there that I will go break on purpose. Like those guys on YouTube that are like, breaking Tesla Cybertrucks just to show people how like shoddy they are. That's kind of like what I've been doing with human design for the past 8 years. Only problem is it's not breaking. Because here's the thing, as I figured either I'll break or the system will break. This is how truth works. If I have the truth, objective truth, right? Like I'm wearing a yellow shirt, that's an objective truth. And somebody brings their opinion or their truth, right? Their truth is going to break against the truth. The truth will not break because it's the truth with a capital T. Your truth, your opinion is that some people are like, oh, I don't want to follow human design because it's a white guy that created it and he's culturally appropriating systems. And I'm like, okay, miss, I was already studying the Kabbalah, chakras, astrology, and I Ching already. Most of these people weren't. And so they don't understand what a beautiful revival of these systems human design is. Like there's people that never heard about the I Ching that now are learning about the I Ching because of human design, and people want to call it a cultural appropriation. Or do they overcharge for their services over at the Jovian Archive? In my opinion, kind of. Okay, but is it helping people? Fuck yeah, that's it. Is it hurting people? I don't think so. Not more than it's helping people. You guys know that you could die from drinking too much water? Yeah. Anyway, my objective truth is your shirt is gold, colored on my phone. I guess it actually is kind of gold, which is yellow. But also I do have a green light kind of shining on me. Robert Crowker, yeah, that's his name before he started going by Raw. How do you find your Godhead? It's so your Godhead is this personality number, the first one, 22, and then you just look it up on Google. Look up the Godhead human design, and you can find it. And so this is the thing. But again, I don't follow human design because Ra. Oh, Hades. My partner is Hades. I don't follow human design because Robert Crowker or Ra says it's a good system. I follow it because I experiment with it and it works. And then I started experimenting with my friends with it and it started working. And so it's helped to me to visualize and conceptualize and create a framework for understanding and talking about spirituality that I was already doing. I was already trying to create this. I just didn't get I didn't get the download like Raw did. Raw got it. And part of me being totally undefined like this, like I'm not claiming that any of these ideas are my own. The collection of them are my own for sure, but none of the ideas itself are my own. So guys, I just realized I got a session right now. So much love to you guys. Thank you for tuning in. This was a wonderful live. We'll be back again tomorrow, Hawaii Standard Time, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hawaii time, Monday through Thursday. Make sure you're following. Thank you for all the likes. Please get a report or download the app. Everything is available via the link in my bio, reikimarco.com. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace. Da-da-da. All right. Bye, guys.